Hi everyone, I'm Lisa and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. Today I'm using the Detailed Santa Thinlits, and they are detailed. Let's take a look at this card. Do you see the intricate work inside the beard and here around the pom-pom and the glasses? Those are created using a framelit that's going to create a real detailed fine tip cut. Now some of you may be saying, yeah, I have those. I'm having a hard time with them. Not after today. I've got a tip that's going to change the way you look at these detailed dies, and it makes it effortless for you to die cut them. I've added some glimmer paper for a real sparkly background, and don't miss those cute jingle bells. I'm going to give you some tips about how you can get those on really easily. Remember to head over to my blog when we're finished watching the video. I've got cutting dimensions there as well as still photographs. And while you're there, take a look at my online classes tab. Thanks so much for being here, but let's head over to the stamp table and let's get started. Now you can appreciate the shimmer to this card. Isn't this pretty? But what you might not be able to see is the fact that the white cardstock is shimmery white cardstock. In person, it is stunning. Things just get lost on camera. And did you notice the small bells here at the end of the bow? I'm going to talk to you about doing those, and of course they're not necessary. That was just an added touch that I've done. But I want to talk to you about this detail die. I've had several people tell me that they've been struggling with it, and I've got a tip today that's going to make this effortless for you. We're going to start with the shimmery white cardstock as the base. This is 8.5 by 5.5, and I'm going to fold this in half. You'll be able to find the cutting dimensions on my blog. The link will be here in the description below to make it easier for you if you're coming from my YouTube channel. That's going to give us that crease in that area for which we need to use the die. These are the Detailed Santa Thinlits. You're going to see this beautiful framed Santa image here that we're going to use. There's also some other great things in here. There's an open star formation and some other border pieces. I'm going to create this window here on the front of the card. Now, the biggest thing I hear is that because it's so detailed, it's difficult to cut through. So here is my tip. And I'm going to show this to you. Do you know what this is? This is parchment paper. This is used when you bake. Unlike wax paper, this will not leave a residue on foil. So if you use it on foil, this is a great tip. I also find it separates just a little easier and doesn't get stuck in the back of the die. So you'll be able to find parchment paper at your grocery store. This one obviously is from Walmart. Not that I'm endorsing them, that's just where I got it from. Big roll, really inexpensive, and of course I can do a lot of die cutting with this. You're going to want to place the parchment paper between the die and the cardstock. That's going to help with the release. So I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to give you an idea on where the placement is going to go. So we want to create a window sort of at the top of this card. And then I'm going to set this on the platform. Let me grab my Big Shot. We're using the magnetic platform on the Big Shot, and because of the details, you are going to want to add the precision base plate. This product came out about a year ago now. Well, actually I take that back. This product came out in June. I am loving this for my detailed dies. It seems to cut them so much better. Because of the steel plate, it's able to roll over them and give them a more intricate cut than without it. So here's that cardstock we talked about. Actually, I'm going to lay it this way so I can see which way I'm going. And we have the parchment paper, and then I have the die. And what I'm looking for is a small border around the top and the sides of this image. You're not going to need a clear mat on the bottom. The precision base plate takes the place of that, but you will need one over the top. I'm also going to tell you that no two Big Shots are created alike. So yours may need to be cranked there and back twice. Mine needs to be cranked there and back just once. So I'm going to crank this through, and it's typical to hear lots of grinding and popping. Which is the precision base plate is really strong. And you're going to notice too that it's going to create some curvature to your clear mat. So it's really important as you die cut that you keep flipping them in different directions to get an even surface. All right, so here we have this. I'm taking off the clear mat. Now I'm going to flip this over. This is what it should look like. You should be able to see it die cut through the whole framelit. If you don't, that's an indication to you that you need to put it back on and die cut it through again. Now here's where the beauty of the parchment paper comes. Typically you'd want to release it from here. Don't do that. You're going to want to release these pieces from each other. And you are going to have to take your time, and you're going to have to be patient. And here's one other product that I want to talk to you about. It's the Big Shot die brush. I keep mine in an empty box to catch the scraps. And because the parchment paper is here, I don't have to worry about marring the cardstock. So I'm going to lay my card on top of the foam mat that's included with the brush, and I am going to rub. And I'm going to rub vigorously. Now, as long as the die is in place, you're protecting those intricate parts. So I'm just going to rub back and forth, kind of in a rolling pin fashion. You're going to see how it's starting to loosen them. That's going to help eliminate a lot of poking. So let me set that to the side. And then again, remember how we talked? We are going to start to remove these two pieces from each other. That's the parchment paper and the cardstock. But look what's happening. Look how easy this is coming apart. Now, I have to tell you, there are some really fussy areas in this die, and they're right here around the pom-pom of the hat. So you want to be careful. Just take your time. But look. Is this just not amazing? It's going to save you so much time, and parchment paper is so inexpensive. So I'll go and I'll just kind of poke out these little tiny pieces. Now, as far as the die is concerned, the parchment paper I find doesn't stick in there like the wax paper does. You're just going to want to remove that. I keep a push pin with my Big Shot die brush so that I can make sure I get these pieces out. And I'll do that after the video, but you don't want to die cut another piece on top of this with those pieces in there. So you'll want to pull those out. Just take you a couple minutes. So here we are back to the card. You can see here there's little tiny pieces that are just kind of stuck in there. I'm just going to give them a little poke with my push pin, or your paper piercing tool is even better. You've got more to hold on to. Of course, mine's not here whenever I need it. There we go. So now we're ready. Isn't that beautiful? Let's do the layering for this card next. I've brought in my mat to make it a little bit easier for you to see on the surface. So again, here we have our die. Now I've cut a piece of Glimmer paper. I'm using the red Glimmer paper, and this is not a perfect square. You'll be able to find the dimensions on my blog. But I made one side a little longer than the other because I wanted to make sure that when I created this window that I didn't cut it short anywhere. So you're going to want to manipulate this to make sure it's going to fit well. So I believe this is 4 by 4 and 1/8. And glue dots are going to work the best. So I'm grabbing my glue dots, and I'm going to put a glue dot in each of the 4 corners way up at the top because I want to make sure that it's not going to peek through any of those die cut open spaces. And then there's another one here at the bottom. Do you see how I'm pressing the Glimmer paper actually on the glue dot? Best way to do it, then you don't have to worry about them sticking to your fingers. And again, I can see I want to go this way. So I'm making sure that I'm carefully covering all the openings of my card. I'm just going to tack down the first 2, and then I'm going to flip and just make sure, yeah, that looks good, before I seal the rest, because glue dots are strong. All right, so now we have that front to our card. Isn't it pretty? But it needed a greeting, so I'm going to bring in a piece of more shimmery white cardstock. And I'm using the greeting that comes from the coordinating stamp set to these dies, and it's called Greetings from Santa. This one says, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. If you've watched my videos, you may have seen me use this Ho 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 one on the Santa and Chimney card I did a couple weeks ago. So I'm going to use the coordinating ink with this, and that's real red. I'm going to ink that up in the real red. I like to check it and make sure I don't have ink around my edges. And then I'm going to stamp my greeting on this strip. I love to create banner tips for a nice finished card. So I'm going to make a small slit here in the center. And then I'm going to go from the corner to the center slit to create like a little flag tip. I find by making that slit first, you're going to get almost a perfect banner every single time. And then the same thing on this side. And of course, if you don't like this, you can just omit this, but I like those little fancy tips. I think it makes the card look finished. Okay, so set that aside. And then I put this on the base of the card using dimensionals. So I've got my dimensionals here, and I'm going to be generous. I'm going to use 3 because I know this is going to go through a postage meter, and I want to make sure that as it goes through the meter that I don't lose the curvature to my words. And I'm going to press my fingernail there to kind of lift the edge of that paper. That's going to help release that. Sometimes those are tough to get off when you've got short nails like mine. And then this is just going to get centered here on the front of the card. Pretty as it is, but I could not resist this Candy Cane Lane Baker's Twine. In the package, you're going to get this beautiful white and red spiral. This is like metallic red in there too. I don't know if you can actually see that or not. And also red. And all I did was I put this around the card twice. This is about 38 inches. I was generous, and here's why. There's nothing worse than fighting with short ends and then you're struggling to make a bow or to put your card together. So I'm just going to kind of center those and wiggle them around. And I'm going to tie a knot. I find a knot is always best first because the twine is so thin that if you don't make a knot, you're fighting with the bow. So I'm going to make my knot first. So that's going to go here. And then I'll make my bow. And I'm going to go around and under and just pull. If your bow is too big, place your finger on the knot and gently pull. That will shorten up the loops for you. And there's one thing too, whenever there's metallic thread in there, there is not much you can do about curling, so don't make yourself frustrated. I'm going to cut this one a little bit shorter, but let's talk about the bells. These mini jingle bells are so much fun. You get red and silver. You get 60 count in the package, which makes them a fabulous value. Now you're thinking there is no way you're going to thread that, but I have to be honest with you because this is so fine. I really didn't have much trouble getting it in there, see? So I'm just going to pull that through and just give you an idea how this works. I'm going to make what I call a double knot. And this is a great tip if you're using embellishments on your projects. Move your item all the way up. So you're going to make your loop like you're going to make a knot. But before you pull it, look, take this raw end, put it back inside that loop. That is going to give you a knot that's bigger and in the identical place as the first one. How many of you made a knot? I'm going to try to hold this up so you can see it better. How many of you made a knot and it never lines up on top of each other because you make two in a row? But if you go back down that same hole twice, it makes the knot larger. So I'm going to slide that down. So that's how I put the bells on. So I'm just going to do one because it just takes time, but I love those little fussy details. So here's the one that we created today. Here's the one I did before you joined me. This one obviously has both bells on it. I'm hoping that that parchment paper tip that I've given you today is going to help you. I know it's been a lifesaver for me and for my customers when they're using these real detailed dies. I'm so glad that you've joined me today. Remember to head over to my blog. You can place your online orders there and I give great exclusive rewards. Check those out on my rewards tab and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day, everybody.